Hi, this is Khaoth from the Ukrainian atmospheric black metal band KHORS, and you're listening to the Bloodshed with the Vampire and Metal Messiah Radio International. And I'd like to congratulate Metal Messiah Radio with its 13th anniversary.
Khaoth, it's a great pleasure to have you here at the Metal Bloodshed with the Vampire and Metal Messiah Radio International.
Thank you. Likewise.
Khaoth, you are a former member of the black metal bands KHORS, which still is active. They have just released a new album out, Horror of Centaur, and Atrophies, which have already disbanded, and the death metal band Tesseract also split out, all coming out of Ukraine. How was your early days in metal, and what do you remember of being a part of the bands I just mentioned?
First of all, I've never been a former member of bands like KHORS and Astrophase because I only have been a live drummer for KHORS in 2000. I played only one show with them, so I've been invited for play at one particular show at Colorado Festival in late 2000. For Astrophase, I was a drummer for the Astrophase from 1997, I believe, to 2000. I recorded 2 albums with them, Dynamotions in 1998 and Ice of the Beast, I believe. So I've recorded 2 albums with Astrophase. Well, I started to play drums when I was a young boy in school when I was like 16, I believe. But honestly, that was not kind of a drumming, I just hitting things. I didn't know how to hold the stick properly. Then years later, I went to the music teacher who taught me how to play drums properly, and he said, "Man, how many years you play drums?" I said, "Like 7 years. Do you know you can hold the stick properly?" I said, "Oh, come on, I'm sorry." So for that moment, I've already kind of recorded 2 or 3 albums with some metal bands from Kharkiv.
Do you still have contact with the band KHORS?
Yeah, of course. We are from one city. We know one each other from 16, from 17. Of course, we know one each other well, and we have contacts with some band members. Some band members disappeared in, I don't know where they are.
Okay.
So they play in bands like Jude, Mutanter, and others.
Okay, KHORS is one of the most significant bands hailing from Ukraine. Experienced musician of the Ukrainian underground metal scene, created the band in August 2004 in Kharkiv. How is the metal scene in Kharkiv in Ukraine, and especially 20 years after the Soviet Union has been dissolved?
It's pretty much different when we're talking about Kharkiv metal scene and Ukrainian metal scene in the world, because Kharkiv is a music city, first of all. A lot of bands, a lot of musicians. Music tradition is very, very strong. So you have a lot of bands, you have a lot of musicians. So if you want to be a professional musician here in Kharkiv, so you have a lot of opportunity. In Ukraine, well, we've mostly been kind of state in state, like we had a lot of shows here in Kharkiv and never had many shows in Ukraine. Now the situation is slightly different. Everything shifted to the capital. Less, I would say, a few venues in Kharkiv remain. Not many bands, many musicians just dropped to do music. Many musicians moved to another cities, in other countries.
KHORS is one of the most known and one of the most recognizable Ukrainian metal bands outside the country. The band has its arsenal of 6 full-length albums and EP released in various formats and well-known label of the metal industry. What do you think are the reasons, Khaoth, of this accomplishment, of all this success, and what are the meaning behind the name KHORS?
KHORS is Slavic god of the sun in Slavic mythology.
Okay.
We're just an underground band from Ukraine, and that's good that some people know us from abroad.
They mean to say you are like the most famous one coming out of the country.
I know some famous bands from Ukraine, but we are not in that list. But okay, we just do things, and I'm happy some people love it.
Okay, Konstantin, if you don't mind, present us the band current lineup, please.
We are 4 guys. Jurgis singing and playing guitar, both rhythm and lead parts. Second guitar is Andres, new member. He joined us in 2019, almost 2 years ago. KHORS plays bass, basically a former member from KHORS. And me, Khaoth, I play drums since the beginning, from 2004.
Okay, where the words acquires eternity is already the band's 7th full-length. The record is released 5 years after you guys have released Nightfall on 2, The Fronts of Hours. which was released April 20, 2015 via Candlelight Record. An album completely done in Ukrainian language, I must say. This great album, a record that is deeply rooted in tracks of Slavic black metal, and also recorded with a purpose, and one that have pushed the group to create, that speaks of horror and war and pain. Khaoth, what are the main reasons in releasing an album in your language, in Ukrainian language rather than English?
Firstly, it has always been a normal practice to sing on native language if we talk about black metal or pagan metal, especially pagan black metal. Well, I can give you many examples of bands worldwide which achieved recognition on an international level while singing on their native language. Secondly, we have never been that good at English that might limit the emotional spectrum of lyrics, I would say.
Khaoth, what an outstanding album from the start. I'm talking about songs like No Oaths, No Tears, and No Knees in that Bird Valley, reaching more into mid-section with Nightfall unto the Fronts of Ours, 1664, and crossing into the last part of the album with songs like Slight Web, Solitude, and to finish up with My Cossack Way. Khaoth, looking back 6 years, I believe, you must be very proud for putting out an album like this, and what are the most you remember about it?
I remember we worked hard on songs back then for the structures and arrangements. Before we entered the studio, we recorded demo on rehearsal to listen how it sounds. And back then, it was terrible times for our homeland. And musically, I call this type of records our signature, if you want, a multi-layered stuff. I mean, if you want to understand the music, the album, you can dive deeper and deeper into it with each new listening. This is not the kind of stuff you can fully understand at once. Something that I personally love in music. I love this record. It is sad. I love some songs from that record.
Okay, Khaoth, how was the road trips, the shows, the tours during the cycle of this album?
Well, we went to Balkan tour on fall of 2015. We played like 10 shows in some very specific countries like Bulgaria, Serbia, Hungary. We played some festivals here in Ukraine, in Europe, and festivals like Doctoral in Germany, Motoculture in France, Ragnar Rock Festival in France, and some more festivals I don't remember now. Yeah, we had some shows, and that promotion that we did for that record was, I think that was good. We played some shows, we sold all the physical copies that we had, like on 5th show on a tour probably. So that was good, not like now.
Yeah, it's very great to hear that it was a success. Shows was good, the sales was good, but not to forget, in 2018, I believe the band came out with a 6-song EP, Beyond the Bestial, with an intense musical atmosphere throughout the album, with beautiful mixture of atmospheric post-black metal and heavy and beautiful dark songs. For those that do know not about this EP, Beyond the Bestial, what can you tell us about it?
This is our first EP in our history, despite we are 14 years on the scene. It was out after a quite long break after Nightfall Records. We were back to the composing process that we dropped for some reasons. And then we realized it might take a year or more to complete the album. So we decided to go for EP first. The same year we celebrated 10 years anniversary of our Mysticism record. So we decided to record 3 songs from that album. Personally, I don't consider an idea to rearrange and re-record the old songs a good one. So I'm quite sure we will never do this again. For the new songs from that EP, still our signature kind of multi-layered compositions, melodic, atmospheric, dark. So I think the fans enjoy it.
Okay, yeah, so continue with the interview. Ukrainian black metalers, KHORS, have uploaded an official clip for their new single, Beneath the Keen Edge of Time, which appears on the latest full-length Where the World Acquires Eternity, out the last September 15, 2020. Please tell us why have the last track on the album been chosen to be the promotional single?
I think it matches the best for the idea that we wanted to go for. This is a rare story and effective result from the development of one simple idea, a music video. We plan to shoot a simple playthrough video in a certain vibe like that you can see on that music video in certain outlook. Basically what you can see in the calmer refreshments. Then we decided to dilute the atmosphere with the modern dynamic inserts. In addition, we discussed and filmed role-playing moments with the help of skill and professionalism of Monrevel, acquired such a solid and complete look. That particular song matched the best the concept, the idea, and the result.
The record can be described as a concept album. Events in the Ukraine city of Kharkiv in the 1930s, where a large group of writers, actors, poets, and screenwriters were persecuted, exiled, and murdered by Stalin's totalitarian regime. Is there anything you want to describe about this album, incomplete?
This is concept album, dedicated to that history of the house Slova. Slova means word, most Slavic languages. It's a very tragic story, and I described it like in the beginning of 2018 during a family walk around my city Kharkiv with a tour guide, with my wife, with my parents. We got acquainted with the history of streets, buildings, and legends of the city. And during this walk, I learned about the tragic story of the house Slova. Also, the building itself was very familiar to me because I lived in a neighboring district for almost like 13 years. This is quite a long story, and if anybody is really interested in, you should probably go to the internet, because I'm not a history teacher or kind of specialist in this area. You should go to the internet for details. The album consists of 8 songs, and I've told you before that 8 songs on 8 different poems of 8 different writers that lived in that house. Almost all of them was killed by Stalin's Red Ledger.
Very sad tragedies that you gave honor to. Very great. Where the World Acquires Eternity. This album recorded in CD digipack format and limited CDs with wooden box, and also independently in digital format. Please, Khaoth, could you explain us more about these wooden boxes?
Like 50 copies of wooden boxes in the shape of suitcase, small suitcase, consisted of 2 suitcases. This is a digipack, basically t-shirt with exclusive design, pocket watch, very nice one, and a poster, I believe. You can refer to our Bandcamp page and you will see it was sold like in a month.
Okay, no more.
Very rare stuff that you can find some pictures on the internet on our Bandcamp page if you're interested. Very nice edition. I love it.
How about colors vinyls? Are they still available?
Yeah. You can buy some copies. We have like 2 copies of blue vinyls, like 4 copies of splattered gray, and 4 copies of black vinyls, but you always can go for Wolfspell records from Poland. For USA citizens, probably would be even easier to buy it from Poland. Poland label Wolfspell records. As far as I know, he still some black and gray copies, and he's running out of blue copies. So if you're really interested in that, it should be very fast to get your copy.
I gonna repeat what the band just said. Enough of quarantine. We can't leave you, us, and our new album without a presentation. We are waiting for you on this April 17 this year in Kiev Volume Club. Okay, seeing that the restrictions are still on and very severe, will this album presentation be rescheduled or will it still go on?
Oh, the situation is shitty here like everywhere else. The coronavirus is raging. Number of new cases is growing. Seems like we have entered a new round of disease, and we're experiencing another lockdown right now. But before, we have planned some concerts for April this year, presentation in Kiev and another show in Lviv in the west part of Ukraine. But for the moment, it's completely unclear if they will take place. We have a lockdown until April 9, and if it won't be prolonged, so we'll go for the presentations. Otherwise, we'll reschedule it.
How about the Zobens on Lemes open air to be held in Latvia this coming August? How about that?
Absolutely unclear, because for the moment we can enter European Union countries, because Ukraine now kind of red zone for the rest European Union countries again. What the situation will be in August, we'll see. So for the moment, we're in a good shape, so we can go just right now to play some shows, but we will see.
Okay, Khaoth, I want to thank you very much for having made this interview possible. I want to hand you over the microphone of Metal Messiah Radio International for you to invite all your friends to support the band, to buy the band's previous albums, and to rush and to buy this great new masterpiece, yes, where the world acquires eternity, and to have it in their collection. This was released last September 15, 2020 via Ashen Dominion. Talking about Ashen Dominion, how are things going with this record label? How is the record label supporting the band?
Ashen Dominion is our best player label. He launched it maybe 5 years ago, 7 years ago, together with his friend Eugene from Eclectic Productions. Started when we've been a part of Candlelight Records, but when we was forced to leave Candlelight Records, of course, the first and the best option for us was Ashen Dominion, because we keep the rights for our record. We can control the sales, we can keep the funds from, especially nowadays when we have no shows. So it's like win-win situations for Ashen Dominion and for us.
How are the distribution outside Ukraine going?
It's only mail order, because if we would have shows and festivals, the situation would be much better. It was the distribution with the sales, with everything.
Khaoth, my last question before we end this great interview. Tell us about the cover artwork done for this great new album, Where the World Acquires Eternity. It reminds me of the 2015 release, Night Falls Onto the Fronts of Ours, where all these ravens are flying around in their dominion. What was your idea behind it?
As I told you before, and you told before, this is concept album dedicated to the tragical story of the Ukrainian writers that lived back then and were dealt with red pleasure of Stalin's regime. So that terrible bird, you can see a terror in that face, the sleeping town that suspect nothing.
Tell us about the merch, and you know what I like about this merch that you guys have, those KHORS hip flask.
Flask set is unfortunately sold out, but we will probably go for some more copies because high demand, Yeah. Again, you can refer to our Bandcamp page, bandcamp.com. Go to our page there and you will find all the merch that we have. You can order it, mail order, and we'll ship it out immediately. We sold some flask set to USA, to Germany, to UK, to Ukraine. Many people love it. And I use it myself.
Okay. And how about other merch? I mean, patches, t-shirt. What else do you have?
Almost everything. We have some old patches, just logo, and we have new t-shirts with the What Acquires Eternity layout. Some old copies Beyond the Bestial layout, t-shirts, maybe a couple of sizes for Nightfalls. We'll surely go for more designs, more layouts, more copies when we'll do shows. We've kind of overstocked with everything.
Yes, yeah. Once again, I'm gonna hand you over the microphone for you to thank whomever you want to thank.
Thank you for your interview, and everybody who will be listening to it. Thank you guys. Listen to the Metal Messiah Radio. And thanks again for your interview. Happy birthday again.
Please, Khaoth, say hello to Jurgis for me. Say hello to Hell. Say hello to KHORS and everybody that has been involved with the band and with the making of the band's new album as well. So I wish you all the best with this great new album and hoping to see you guys on the road sometimes. But let's see, let's cross a finger and see that this COVID will be over. I mean, and that the festivals can start back. I can't wait to be at the festival.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much again.
Okay. And like I always say, metal on. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.